Hello everyone and welcome to your Saturn placement. After doing Jupiter, I really wanted to get to this one, but of course, just takes time, like the lesson of Saturn. As someone who's kind of an optimist, I guess I would call myself, and I like to believe in the positive things, and I kind of love Disneyland. The serious nature of Saturn was probably the last planet that I really delved into. But there's so much to learn here. Saturn is the realist. It's here to teach you that lifelong lesson. So welcome, my fellow masochists. You have made it to the harshness of reality. I'll make it as pleasant as possible. If you want some feel-good vibes, stop now and watch the Jupiter videos. Just kidding. Saturn is called malefic because it's a place of hardship. Hardships are not random. They're not just the gods laughing at us, or maybe they are. But they are there to teach us a lesson. All of these lessons throughout all of these years, over time, the long haul of Saturn will teach us mastery. So what started as one of your greatest weaknesses will become one of your greatest strengths. When I did the Jupiter videos, one of the comments was that since I presented Jupiter as a superpower, I should present Saturn as kryptonite. I thought that was such a great idea. Now, I don't know much about the Superman comics, but I do know enough to know what kryptonite is. If Superman, over time, builds up his immunity to kryptonite, then that is exactly what Saturn is all about. I also got some criticism for having so much about the actual planet and not as much about the specific traits of your placement. So I'm going to put more in there. But to know about the planet itself is important because it teaches you what's the difference between having a Saturn in Scorpio versus a Saturn ascendant. And when I was first learning about astrology, that was probably the thing that confused me the most. So that is why I spend so much time. Saturn is the slow burn. It's the delayed effect. Usually this area is something that we care so much about, but it seems so unobtainable. And then when we finally get there, we will look back and say it's really worth the journey. This is an area that's going to require dedication, patience, and time. You might feel like your father figure, or God isn't bringing you anything in this area. Like you put so much effort and then it's just not rewarded like Jupiter is. You have to do all of the work, and it's true. There are no spiritual guides or beings that are going to give you that extra boost in this area. This is good old-fashioned blood, sweat, and tears. It's an area that has to be aged like a fine wine. There's also often a lot of shame, which is a huge obstacle. There's this inner voice, you shouldn't do this. Push and pull of something you want, but something you feel is shameful. And for some people, Saturn is mostly about getting past that kind of shame in that area. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. So let's get into your Saturn placements. Gemini in Saturn. The mantra that I want you to tell yourself is, I am one of a kind. I will never and should never blend in. People with Saturn and Gemini are quirky. They are very intelligent, and they often feel misunderstood, and rightly so, because they are very different. Because of this, it was difficult for them to open up socially when they were young. Maybe they didn't have a lot of friends, or maybe they verbally were delayed and had to have speech therapy. Maybe they were even mute for a while. But their guard is always up, socially speaking. They probably don't trust people right away, even though underneath they're probably social butterflies, but they just have this kind of edge to them of worrying how people are going to judge them because they are very different and they have an awareness of that. Once somebody's in your trusted circle, though, they can often be the life of the party. Someone that appeared to be socially awkward and verbally challenged actually becomes one of the greatest communicators. They're expressive, they always have something interesting to say, and they say it in an interesting way. And really, with this position, you just want to be loved for having this quirky mind and quirky genius that you have. With this position, you might go on to be a great writer, speaker, or probably some other intellectual pursuit. Some people with this position also have trouble with short distances traveled, like road trips and things like that. Maybe their car is always breaking down. Often with this position, you might be a terrible driver. The reason for that is that Saturn is one of the slow-moving planets. It's just very rigid and measured. And Gemini is quick. They're just rapid fire. So your internal rhythm, I guess you would say, is something that is very unsteady. It's like Slow, quick, quick, quick. Slow, quick, quick, quick. Maybe you hate being in cars. Maybe your travel plans always go awry, but something about that short-term travel could be full of drama or flair. This person also can be kind of fussy and easily irritable. Kind of see this as like Seinfeld, neurotic, high-strung, because their brain is on rapid fire and life moves slower, and it's just a weird combination of that energy. If you have this position, you probably have been told that you're the most patient person with the most laser-like focus, or you've been told the opposite, that you have no patience and that you don't stick with one thing, you just fly back and forth between projects. But both are true. You do have incredible patience and attention to detail, and you have the ability to see mental things through long-term where others wouldn't. So with this position, I could also see you achieving something great like a novel or an invention, where the mind is going to continue going in one direction until it gets to the end, when others would not be able to stay for the long haul. This is someone who's highly intelligent and probably doesn't like to do the same things the same way over and over. Very inventive. On the shadow side, though, when you were younger, if you felt really awkward, out of place, and not able to fit in, which you probably don't fit in easily or ever, then you could use your intelligence as sort of a superiority thing because you're feeling insecure, which will just push people away. And it's really irritating, Yes, you are intelligent, of course you are. But this is the kind of person who can use grammar as a way of judging others. Like, I'm superior to you because I have more education, or because I know the correct pronunciation, or what have you. So be careful of those superiority insecurities. Haven't come to terms with being different, I guess. You have a way of moving the world forward. You will be on the cutting edge of your business and movements. I knew a person that had this position, and they were at the forefront of women in the workplace. So embrace your unique qualities. You're not likely to like to follow directions. It goes in one ear and out the other. And it can be really irritating to authority figures, but it's also part of your charm. In your brain, it's original and it has a whole different way of the order of sequence of events. So trying to think like other people are thinking is impossible. Just like it would be impossible for them to think like how you think. So do you have the best concentration of all of the placements or the worst? I guess it's how you look at it. Almost universally with this position, you will feel misunderstood in some way. You might have also been a foreigner speaking a different language. You could not communicate with others to where they would be on the same level of understanding, no matter how hard you tried. Maybe they were too black and white. You see things in more of a randomness. It's hard to bring clarity to communication, and that is something that you are working to master, of being able to figure out how to take your mind, which is all the way over here, and someone else's mind, and bring a common thread. One thing to be also aware of in the shadow side is being too pessimistic, because when you combine the intelligent factor of Gemini with the seriousness of Saturn, it can look at everything in a very kind of bitter, cold, clinical sort of way, and it can take out a lot of warmth. And remember not to be too obsessive about proper communication and using big words, because then, sorry to say it, but you're completely missing the point of your gift. Bring clarity to the communication and not obstacles. I know, easier said than done. You are a master of language and linguistics with incredible intellectual patience and abilities. Hope you enjoyed my take on Gemini and Saturn. Come back for the next video.